All right. Hello, everybody. I think we're almost ready to kick off. So if I can ask everybody to please take their seats, that would be great. Prepare yourself. You might need to, you might need to put the laptop on the chair when you're ready to.
No.
I'll kick off and then before.
And then I'll put it.
Yeah. All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to A11y Bytes 2024. Before we kick off, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today and the lands on which everybody that is watching on the live stream are watching today. And I would also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. Also want to acknowledge that it's the 12th time that A11y Bytes has happened, 11th in Melbourne, 12th in Sydney, I believe, and it's the 13th Global Accessibility Awareness Day today. We've just had someone join the Zoom, so don't think that was supposed to happen, but that's okay. I'd like to say a couple of quick thank yous before we kick off. So first of all, I'd like to thank Bupa for hosting us today. Ash for helping us out with all the setup. Thanks, Bupa, and thanks, Ash. I'd like to acknowledge AI Media for helping us out with live captioning today. Thank you to Intopia for captioning and food sponsorship. And thanks for everyone who's helped us out along the way. There's been many different people along the years, and we wouldn't have been able to put an event like this on without you all. So thank you all very much. Quick housekeeping. Thanks for that, Ash. Quick bit of housekeeping for those that are in the room here with me today. The bathrooms are to my left. And I believe a key might be required that is floating around it. So sometimes it's locked, sometimes it's not. We might need a key, we may not need a key. If you need a key, go find Ash. All right. I think I've done a bad enough job of that. So let's kick off and hand it over to people who can actually speak a lot better than I can. We've got 5 presentations today, and we're going to kick things off with Irith Williams, 5 fundamental principles for inclusive practices. Thanks, Irith.
Bear with me so I can see.
We're just doing some final tech setup. And I will also then get out the way. We don't have any guide dogs in the room, I don't think. All right.
You might need to click into the PowerPoint window for it to start clicking if it doesn't.
Oh, there we go. Oops. Okay. Hi everyone. I have timed this to 10 minutes, so hopefully we'll be able to stick to that. I just want to speak to you. I have collaborated with other members of the Australian Web Accessibility Initiative, A11y, to co-create this workshops, inclusive research operations workshop training that we deliver. They probably also apply to design, but we haven't really investigated that. So, but I'm going to pose that you guys can think about whether they do or not. So I'll get stuck into it. And also just to let you know, I'll be using the term disabled people in this presentation, using identity first language to show connection with the disability community, to demonstrate disability pride and emphasize that it's society that is, sorry, I'm just trying to, there's the little Zoom control is hiding my notes. I'm just going to make it so I can read them. We'll go back. Now the click is not working. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yes, that makes sense. No. Why is this not? There we go. Okay. So demonstrating disability pride and emphasizing that it is society that's disabling, which is in line with the social model of disability. Many experiences of disability are caused by a society that creates barriers, but not everybody likes that term. Some people prefer person with a disability. And if you want more information about that, there's a VicGov website there. So let's launch into our 5 principles. So you can see our logo here is different coloured ribbons that are overlapping each other in an interwoven pattern. And the reason that's our logo is because these principles don't stand alone. They're not a Venn diagram. There are interdependencies and they affect each other. And you can't actually progress very far along one without having to address the others. So that's the rationale behind our logo. And our first principle is immersion. I'll do the list and then I'll go into what each one means. Our second is piloting. Our third is safety. Our fourth is diversity. And our fifth is equity. So what do we mean by immersion? There's an image here of a young boy jumping off a jetty with his arms and legs splayed out jumping into a very deep body of water. It could be a large lake or a bay. There's some hills across on the other side. And in our workshops, we talk about immersion being a personal commitment to continual direct engagement with disabled people, with people with lived experience. It's centering lived experience and it's grounding everything that we do in lived experience. Immersion is the only way to a deeper and broader tacit understanding of lived experience of disabled people. And immersion needs to include trauma-informed approaches and stigma-aware approaches. If anyone's looking for guidance on where to get trauma-informed training, the AusieWay.org website has some listed on their resources. And so our second principle, piloting, is an essential key to safety. So basically safety, piloting is a key component of how we operationalize safety. And when we immerse ourselves in the discussions and experiences of disabled people, so when we do that immersion work, we realize we need to pilot the whole research process for every individual participant. And actually all accessibility guidelines advise testing directly with people. So the guidelines themselves say this is how we should be practicing. So how do we talk about safety? There's an image here of a bright orange life ring floating on a very deep, what looks like a deep body of water. It's very dark blue. And we talk about 4 aspects to safety, just general safety, physical safety, cognitive safety, and psychosocial safety. And aspects 4 factors that impact research operations and can impact the safety and well-being of participants and researchers. So these safety aspects actually also impact us as people who do research and our team members and internal teams, but the training that we deliver is about research participants. Safety is an extremely complex and sensitive area, and all of these principles are aimed at minimizing risks. We can never claim to provide 100% safe environment for everyone, but once we acknowledge that, we can be vigilant and reflective, always looking for ways to minimize more risks. And immersion is the key to understanding safety. So the way that we understand, to truly understand how to minimize risks, we need to become educated in safety practices to hear firsthand from people with lived experience ways that they recognize and implement safety practices and ways that they have unfortunately experienced harm. It's only by being led by people with lived experience that we can understand what truly safe practices are. Our 4th principle is diversity, and there's a bright cartoon image here of people in bright clothes in concentric circles holding hands with each other. And again, immersion is the key to understanding diversity. So there's actually a lot of diversity in the experiences of disabled people, especially when it comes to how they access technology. So it's actually not it's not helpful to generalize too much about best practice. But when we immerse ourselves, we understand where the overlaps are between people's experiences and the use of different technology, and also similarities in use of technology when people have diverse experiences. So again, this is adhering to the guidelines that tell us we should be working directly with disabled people when we're designing and delivering products and services. And this is very important. It's very relevant to research. So equity is our 4th principle, and immersion is the key to understanding equity. And whereas equality means providing the same to all, equity means recognizing that we do not all start from the same place and must acknowledge and make adjustments to imbalances. The process is ongoing, requiring us to identify and overcome intentional and unintentional barriers or systemic structures. And there's an image here of, it's a cartoon drawing of 3 people trying to watch a sports event at a large sports field. And there's a left-hand side and a right-hand side, sort of almost like mirror imaging. And the left-hand side is labeled equality. And there are 3 people standing at the fence trying to see over. There are 3 wooden boxes. On the left-hand side, there's a tall person standing on a box and they can see very easily. In the middle, there's a medium-sized person standing on a box and they can only just barely see over the fence. And on the right-hand side, there's a person in a wheelchair and they're not able to see anything over the fence. And on the right-hand side, labeled equity, the tall person no longer has a box to stand on, but they can see easily over the fence. The medium-sized person now has 2 boxes to stand on and they can see easily over the fence. And the person in the wheelchair has been given a ramp and they can also see over the fence. We need to acknowledge that research has always been a fundamentally inequitable practice. So traditional research mindsets and training are in extractive and exploitative methods. We've all been trained in that mindset and it cannot change without conscious effort. Inclusive research is countercultural to traditional research in all disciplines, and many people continue to be harmed by traditional research practices. And this just emphasizes the need to make these trauma-informed and inclusive-informed shifts in our practice. Let me just double check. I haven't. Yep. Okay. So let's keep moving. So there's some links there. We have A11y is the Australian Web Accessibility Initiative. They have an email newsletter you can sign up for. You can sign up for the newsletter for the Inclusive Research Workshop. The Inclusive Research Workshops have a showcase page on LinkedIn. You can email inclusive.research@aussieway.org if you would like a customized workshop for your organisation. And I have popped in here the accessibility not checklist, which is just shoehorning in a really, really, really accessible and user-friendly way of quickly understanding and getting answers to questions about WCAG adherence guidelines. It's beautifully designed. It's so helpful, brewed by Team Intopia. They weren't going to blow that trumpet tonight, so I've blown it for them. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Irith. It's a great presentation. All right, so next up, we've got Andrew Nevins, and Andrew will be talking to us about the tabindex attribute.
Hi. Okay. So it's just next. It's
Alt tab to your slide.
Alt tab. Do you want to do it? The technical difficulty that we're going. Yeah. That's true. All right. Is it moved? Is the clicker working? Is the clicker working? It is. Okay. Thanks for attending Accessibility Bytes, everyone. My name is Andrew Nevins. I'm a digital accessibility consultant at Intopia, and I'm going to talk about tabindex, why people have stopped using it, and how that negatively affects people with disabilities. I'll be using a skip link and a local navigation link as an example. So a skip link is typically found at the top of each web page. It's labeled skipped content, and when you activate it, you jump past the header information, you go to the main content. A local navigation can typically be found on a product page. And when you have multiple sections of information, it's useful to have local navigation. When you activate links, you can jump to those sections as well. So what is tabindex? It's a HTML attribute. It makes something not interactive focusable. And what that means is that assistive technology users can then move to that content. So there are many HTML elements that are not focusable by default, like headings and the main element. And you only want to make them focusable when you're trying to move people to that content explicitly. So it takes numerical value. -1 makes something focusable, but not in the keyboard tab order. This is the one you want to really use in the skip link. And 0 makes something focusable and puts it in the natural tab order. And any number higher than 0 should just be avoided. So why did people stop using it? Well, in my career, I've heard various reasons like, oh, that was for old versions of Internet Explorer and who supports them anymore? And while that was true, but that's since been outdated since 2014. Others say, I really don't want to see that black border around my content because that's ugly. But at the same time, anything can be styled these days. You can make it look really innovative. I've seen examples of headings that have been highlighted and then faded out after a couple of seconds. So take that opportunity to show off your brand. Google also didn't help by saying that, by the way, developers, you don't need to use tabindex anymore. They said this in 2016 for their Chrome version 50, and they were partly right, but they only considered desktop keyboard users. They didn't consider the wider range of assistive technologies. So what happens if you don't use it? Well, here's a brief history on tabindex. Between 1999 and 2008, there was indeed an IE6 bug, Internet Explorer 5, 6, and 7, that affected keyboard users. They couldn't reach the content when they activated the links, the skip links. So what happens was that they just added the tabindex attribute, And that fixed it for them. So I can easily see where people get this idea from. That I just need to use, I don't need to use this anymore because this was old Internet Explorer. But that's since been superseded in 2014 when the HTML specification introduced something called the sequential focus navigation algorithm. And they said that what's also important is to define the focusable area. And the focusable area includes the use of the tabindex attribute for non-interactive content. So this is what Google really meant to say when they released that version 50, but they just missed out the explicit detail about focusable area. Oh, and by the way, the navigation algorithm is really cool. If you press a tab key around the page, that's what the browser is following. So say if you activate a add to button link, add to cart link, sorry, or add to cart button, and then suddenly that button disappears and is replaced with a item added to cart message, then if you press the tab key again, the browser will put you into a logical place in the document. So it's really cool, and do check out the specification. So how do you test for, oh, sorry, what happens if you don't use the tabindex attribute? Well, because the web browser doesn't move focus onto that content, some assistive technology users won't be able to navigate to it. You might see the screen jump, so it makes it look like that content has been navigated, but it really hasn't worked for the focus order. And how do you test for this? Right. Well, if you're a keyboard tab user, you will actually never come across this problem. This is specific to some assisted technology users. So if you're testing skip links with the tab key, you might want to check again because that doesn't check for focus order issues. That's what the browser is doing when they follow the algorithm. So you're just testing the algorithm there. So I'm going to demonstrate 3 assistive technologies: voice over iOS users, iOS Bluetooth keyboard users, and Windows 3 magnifier users. I'll be using a skipped content link, and directly underneath, there'll be the main content. It'll be on a white background. That's where I'm trying to go. Above the skip link, there'll be other content that's not really relevant for the examples. So here's what happens to an iOS voice over screen reader user. So the expectation is that when they activate the skip link, they can then navigate to the main content next in the reading order. But what actually happens is that they're shoved to the top of the page and they have to navigate through all the page content to get where they need to.
Skip to content, visited, in hyphen page link. Left square bracket focus lost right square bracket. What happens when you don't apostrophe T use tabindex? The full not when use win bullet jaw bullet I all apostrophe te no the don't we note for example skip to the main content
And
full
then they
stop
finally
main
reached the
comma
main
landmark.
content. So they had to navigate through everything just to get to where they needed to go. Okay, similarly, let's see what happens to an iOS external Bluetooth keyboard user. So similar expectation, when they activate the skip link with the enter key, they should then be able to tab into the main content or any content after the main content that's focusable. So the first thing I do is I enable full keyboard access mode. And then I tab through the page until I get to the skip link. Activate it with the enter key. And then I press the tab key once again. And then I'm at the top of the page again, which is really frustrating. So my keyboard focus is being reset again, just like the previous example. And finally, let's look at a Windows screen magnifier user. So slightly different expectation that when you activate the skip link, you should be then moved, the magnified view should be moved to that main section. So let's magnify 400%. This is Windows Screen Magnifier. I go to settings and I turn something on called keyboard focus tracking. This allows me to automatically follow the focus order around the page. So now when I tab to the skip link, and then I press the enter key, what actually happens is that I'm shoved to the top left corner of the page, which is really confusing. And in this example, let's show it again. I've put the text focus lost, but in reality, in your production environment, that would just be white space, or it would be a background color. And it's really disorienting to move people into white space and have them have to pan around and find the content themselves. So what's the solution to all of these problems? Well, we just need to use the tab index attributes. So say if you've got a skip link that goes to the main element, add tab index equals -1 to the main element. Don't just rely on the DOM anchor. And by that, what I mean, don't rely on the href of the anchor tag and the ID attribute of the content, because that won't fix anything. So here's a demonstration of the solution for a Windows Screen Magnifier user. Similarly, I zoom in 400%, turn on that setting again to allow me to track keyboard focus. And then when I navigate to the skip link with the tab key and I press the enter key, I'm then moved to the main content and everything works really nicely. So hopefully I've convinced you that if you're an assistive technology user, you can become lost or disoriented on the page when the tab index attribute is not used. So the solution is simple, just use it. I mean, and then people will be able to navigate to the content using your links and not have to find it themselves. Thanks for listening to my talk. I've got a code pen from the talk that I created. It's got all the examples. It's got a list of assistive technologies as well. I've also written another article, How to Avoid Breaking Web Pages for Keyboard Users, which documents more issues around keyboard. Yeah, any questions? If there's room for questions?
Probably not really.
All right.
We'll
All right.
catch up later in the networking bit.
Thank you.
We'll make sure we post out the links to slides and things as well.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thank you very much, Andrew. That was everything I ever wanted to know about tab index. That also wasn't that funny. All right. So next up, we've got Cathy Basterfield talking to us about the biggest accessibility issue, low literacy.
This is Damien too. He's the my point for IT person in our company. So just while he's getting started, all that technology, that was a bit hard for me. I'm actually a speech pathologist, so technology is not my big thing. Adam. So escape.
Wait on that. There you go. You also have to switch to website.
We can do that. That's not us.
That's the wrong one. Not going well. Yeah, but it's here though.
Yeah, just hit present.
Okay.
Hey. Okay. So Damien and I are going to do a quick run through of what we've spent the last couple of years working on. So our focus is working with people with low literacy who often also have low or no digital literacy skills. And it's the cohort of people that are completely forgotten in any work that anyone does, unless you've actually gone and meet them and gone and actually met them. So what our first presenter was saying about go and talk to people, well, if you put out a social media post and say, hey, I want some feedback on my website, someone with low literacy doesn't use social media. Okay, so you're not going to get them. All right, so you're actually not talking to the people who are the most vulnerable. So I just want to do a bit of a run through of some data for you, and then Damien's going to show you the work that we've been doing. And if this goes around the right way, we'll be right. Oh, look, there you go. So back in 2006, Joachim Nelson actually made this comment to say that lower literacy is the web's biggest accessibility problem and no one is doing anything about it. And that has not changed. Okay, so if you're writing at what you think is plain language, and tell me anyone who's found a website that's written in plain language, which is an average year 9 sort of level of literacy, that's actually not meeting need. Okay, so if you're writing corporate stuff, that's no good either. Who is your audience? And if you're a public facing company, your audience is the man out in the street. So where's that gone from? I don't know why that's coming up. Okay, we didn't want to go with graphs tonight because that's all too hard. So 44% of people in Australia do not have the literacy to manage a range of day-to-day reading tasks. So all this grey group are people who may have a little bit, but often they don't even know the letters from A to Z. And they are not people who identify as having a disability. Often they hide the fact that they've got low literacy. This is not a hard and fast line. It does vary. So I tell you, in this room here, when Andrew's talking to me about tabindex, my literacy is about down here, okay? Okay, yep. Health literacy, I'm not too bad. I've got a bit of health background, but if you start talking to me about virology and, you know, viruses, well, actually, I'm going to be back down here as well, okay? So it's not a hard and fast, but if this is meant to sort of be about plain language and you think that your website's at plain language, you're getting the privileged people, but not the underprivileged and the people who really need your help. All right. I could actually also tell you that where do those people come from? 1 in 4 15-year-olds do not have the literacy to manage the curriculum. New data this year, 8 in 24 children in a classroom don't have literacy to manage classrooms, okay, at grade 4 level. So it's significant, it's been ongoing, it's not a new thing because of COVID. Okay. Australian Digital Inclusion Index, this has been around for about 10 years now. What they're measuring is whether you can actually get access to the tools that you need, whether it's actually at a level of affordability in relation to your income. Okay, $1,000 phone with a whole lot of internet subscription and you're on a pension, that doesn't equate. And then can you use all the tools at your fingertips to do the most that you can? And Damien keeps on telling me that, well, I'm at about 5% there. You know, I'm getting better. But how many people can really use the digital tools at their fingertips to do everything that they're capable of doing? And even in this room. So what did they look at? It's a maximum score of 100. And this is the average. So you can see there's a bit of a change that's happening. It started at 54 back in 2014. So look, 2020, it was 63. Woohoo! That sounds pretty good. 2021, it went up. What was interesting though, in Victoria and Tasmania, the data didn't change. In fact, it went lower and they said, maybe we've got all the low hanging fruit. We need to do a bit more work here to get more people engaged. Take note down here. Anyone who has a score more than 10 points lower than these averages is considered to have low digital literacy. So this is this year's group. You think, wow, we've gone ahead. Wonderful. But let me put some priorities into this bit, or some information. In 2021, we had border closures. And so the Northern Territory, they couldn't actually do any testing. So we know in the Northern Territory, there's a high proportion of people who've got low digital inclusion. So it's grown, but in fact, it didn't include probably the most vulnerable group. So it's gone up here for this year, which is great, or last year. But look at Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, take them out. 65 going all the way down. If you're trying to communicate with rural and remote communities, 48 out of 100 is their digital inclusion. Okay. Now, I could give you a great big slide of who are the other people that fit below this mark of average. Anyone on a low income, on a very low income. Disability, age, haven't completed education, are trying to find a job, Aboriginal, English as a second language, with a health crisis, anyone who's got any level of vulnerability. And then we had that thing called intersectionality. So you might have this and this. And then I want you to add into something that the first speaker spoke about, was being trauma informed. If you are going through any level of trauma, your literacy decreases. So why do we ever write anything at such a complex level? So we've been using all of this to sort of build upon what we're doing, and we've been promoting today lots out on our social media to remind us that this is the current data. 1 in 4 Australians is digitally excluded. So if you think putting things on your internet is meeting all your community, all your audience, you're wrong. Okay, you've actually immediately left out 25%. However, of the rest of them, guess what? Only 2 in 5 people can effectively use complex websites. So the data tells us that you need to look at people who can manage one level of navigation. Anything more than that, they're not going to go looking. They can't look. And if you've got low literacy, the thing that you do is read every single word. In the guidelines, it's got lovely things like this, which you think, oh, yep, I'm doing all those things. But if you're not thinking about the audience that we think about, you're actually missing it. We also need to think about where are the personalised access features. If my person's got to find it down in the footer, down here, and it's all in text, you're not going to be able to add those things into it. Memory load. You have to remember it. Is it going to be saved? And two-factor authentication. That requires two devices that you can both use. Okay, can't do that. And don't forget it costs. You need to be able to get human help straight away. And that doesn't mean a chat box. It does not mean an email. It's a person on the end of the phone. And we test with real users. These are people who are desperate to get onto the internet. And Damien will show you some of the things that we've found in doing that consumer testing. We need to think about information first, little or absolutely no navigation, and minimum steps. It needs a phone number. And I know all the government agencies and many businesses have got rid of them. And they think that that's the solution. It is not. It needs to be that the person can make, they can understand it. They don't have to go and swap from one page to the next or from going from here into another website because they do not have the skills to do it. So I'm going to hand over to Damien now, who's going to show you where we started and where we went to.
So hi, everyone. Yes, this is version 0.5 before I got involved, that Cathy was involved with a project in New South Wales to present some information to vulnerable mothers, I believe, parents of kids in court and that type of stuff. So this was one of the first attempts to be as simple as possible to the audience. So this was my starting point.
I want to say too, this is for people with low literacy. We're not trying to focus on all the other things like vision impairment, okay, which is often where accessibility goes straight to, okay?
So yes, specifically people with low literacy. So yes, so for the last year and a bit, I've been working on a website called Read EE, which has taken everything we've learned from the first website and multiple updates to this website with consumers at low literacy. These people can use the computer, but don't know how to use it. They know what a mouse is, they know how to move, they know that type of stuff, but they don't, once things get complicated, they get overwhelmed. This is what we ended up with. Obviously, it's changed a bit, but it's live at this moment. Please do not look it up on your phone. It's not finished. I have to go and finish it. As you can see, it's very simple, color-coded, big words, big buttons. And when we get to it live, I can show you some of the animations and some of the things to try and focus the people, because I know how to, well, I think I know intuitively how to use a website. Oh, this is where the home is. This is the menu. This is this. But if you've never used one or you've never used one effectively, that information is hidden to the user. So how is the user meant to know that to update their account is actually behind the person on the far right, for example? Like if you don't know, you don't know. We also don't have accounts, but these obviously are much more complicated issues, but if we can get it this level, we can build. So let's put it live.
I'm going to show just before we go live, do you want to just show the two other versions?
Oh yeah, sure.
So from, that was where we've ended up at the moment, but if we go back.
So originally there was 9 and we felt that was too much. Also with people with low literacy, scrolling is kind of an issue because if you don't know you can scroll, it's hidden to you. Now you might say touchscreen, but this is on computers with scroll wheels and that type of thing. So I'm just saying that you might know it's there, but they don't know. And unless you're going to tell them or show them by a family member or whatever, you know, getting to their level, getting to where they are is much more effective than where they're not. So yes, this was version 1, I believe.
And this was actually too much to scan.
Too much to scan?
Yeah, too much to scan and look and yeah, where do I go? What do I do? And as I said to you earlier, they want to read every single thing. They can't and just go, oh, yep, that's it. They need to go through and see, but there are too many choices there for them to actually look at and think about.
And I saw this being on Zoom with them using my website in front of me, that little things would distract them from the core things. Then it became this with a lot of space, but then we found that people at these lower levels of literacy, their mouse control isn't very good, or they weren't sure they were clicking on anything. And anyway, let's go to Mr. Live. I'm going to be able to do this, right? Should be? Yeah. Mom, do you want to come over here? And I'll...
No, you heard that.
Yes, I'm her son. So this is live. If you have any issues, please tell me. My email is damien@accesseasyenglish.com. Anyway, so yes, if you go over any of the no, is it over there? You got to come over to this screen. No.
You know my technology?
So it's here. Just look at the screen and use the chat pad. So every element that is clickable has the same animation. If you go on, I actually was using PowerPoint today, and in each menu, there was a different type of animation to tell you that you can highlight something. But in every aspect of this website, the same animation will work, or will be the same. So that communicates to the user, hey, this is clickable, if you've realized that. All right, go into be safe, please. Good job. Right click. There we go. Who mentioned about menus? Was it you? No, doesn't matter. Anyway, so someone mentioned about top menus. We actually encountered this. If you scroll down, Cathy, this.
I need a mouse.
Should I do it? Tabindex. Double finger.
We are tablet mouse.
So with most website design, the main menu will be at the top of the page. But we found, as with Cathy said about people reading everything, that they got confused because, for example, you click on this button and then it appears here. That is actually prominent real estate. So if you're not, if you haven't encountered, like, where is the information I want to see? It's not front and center. So although this, yeah, it's kind of like every time you encounter someone using the website or this stuff, it's like, I know how to use it, but they don't. And it's kind of coming to them and just trying to, take away everything you know about design and try and make it as intuitive as possible, which has been a challenge. You might notice here a big back one page button. As most of you use desktops, there's a back up here. But how small is that compared to this back button? And if you don't know what's there, you can't control the mouse, etc. Yeah. Any other major design things? So if you install plugins to give you accessibility things, it'll be like a guy they give you a million functions, but we found most people don't use. So it should actually be in the website before. So things are already big, things are in easy language, etc. So we found this one was the most important for low vision or whatever else. And then, yes, this used to say home, which I know most websites have a home. Most things have a home, which is a picture of a house. People with low literacy assume it's about their home, or it doesn't look like their home, or what does that mean? So it was 3 or 4 rewrites of like, what is the simplest way to refer to getting back to the front page, which is what it is. Anything else I should talk about?
Into the Be Safe one again.
Okay.
So every page that he's created, sorry, you can move it down because I can't. Every page that he's created has only 6 spots on it. Okay, so that's the maximum. And as he said, everyone's got that border on it because that gives them a really big space if they don't have great mouse control. We have seen actually people using it on just as trying to use it as a touch screen. And if you've got really uncoordinated hand control, you don't have great hand control, you don't have great finger, here's actually a nice spot that you can actually touch with as well. But now that it's so simple, we've actually now, so if you go and open up now the Knox City one, or that one, that whatever, now here's all that content that we've created as a page of content for them. So now that we've made it so simple that there's so little choice there that they can actually make those clear choices, now we can actually go back and add that extra piece in for them. Okay. Now, Damien keeps saying, I said, well, what about for printing? Because this is what people want if I want to go to printing. We can't guarantee that. And these are documents that are PDF'd. And so the idea is for anyone with low literacy, they want it printed off. So the idea is not that they're going to actually necessarily read it on here, that it's then going to be connected to a printer. The reason we went down this path is because every document that we created was being buried on websites and nobody could find it. So this is where our content lives. that we've developed, and it's going to be constantly updated and changed as new content goes up.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, and you wanted to say about the consumers you've seen using it.
I kind of put that in within as I was talking.
All right.
But yeah, it would be. I'm not sure who uses user experience or whatever, but invite in these people. Try and invite people of every level and watch them use your website. Like give them a simple task. How do I find information about how to update this or find this document or whatever? How do I get a phone number? And just see what they do. Now, I might use Control F or I might Google search it really quickly, but you don't know until you see someone struggle or that. So it's just more, inviting your, as Cathy has said, the lowest literacy users in to try and use a simple task and seeing the problems they encounter. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much, Cathy and Damien. I think what I got out of that was long live the phone number. I love a good phone number, personally. All right.
I was just going to say the other bit, let me just put this is that we never actually have to show even people who've got no digital literacy how to use it. They can intuitively work it out from that simple layout.
Shout out for phone numbers. All right, that I think brings us to the break. And for the first time in A11y Bytes history, we're running ahead of schedule. So I think what I'm going to do is we'll make it a 20-minute break and we'll be back in around 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're good at that, which is why. Yeah.
Did I skip a slide? Or was it just looking ahead?
You kept referencing something that was 2 slides.
You basically could only see the little next slide window. Tilted that way.
Yeah.
But I
was good
realized
though.
what I was doing. I gave you an advance warning about tabbing.
Almost there.
Almost there.
We're almost there.
Almost there. I don't like writing. I like it.
Yeah. Hopefully there's some dietary whatever because it's higher.
Right.
I got lactose intolerance, but I got tablets.
As well. Really, really eating like really.
You had about to eat.
I'm good. I'll wait to the end and decide.
Have you been out?
Adam,
Hey,
nice to meet you. You guys work together? Oh, nice.
You know me.
I do.
Trying to have a chat.
Hey, it's great. That's what these things are for, right? So yeah.
I am very, very new to accessibility. That's just so much more to me.
Welcome.
Yes.
Maybe,
Specific flow.
maybe we get you doing a presentation at one of these in a couple of years.
Accessibility news.
Yeah, I mean, that's the majority.
Got a slot for you at the next meetup, so you're gonna have to.
So you actually.
Yeah.
Oh.
Don't know when the next meetup is yet.
Next meetup, you promised last year that you would have meetups.
Yeah, well, I
Have
mean,
you?
we had one in February.
Oh.
We've had
okay.
this one. We'll have another one
My
in
bad.
probably after end of financial year.
What mailing list am I not signed up to? If I missed this.
Melbourne meetup. I'll send.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll give you a slot.
All right. I think I've seen it.
Because, well, Lila mentioned you were doing stuff. So I'm not really sure.
I got some stuff.
Yeah.
It's no kiss. Not pressure.
Just turn it up slightly. Right, I'm gonna go try and find some water, I think. There was bottles of water around here somewhere. I'm right. There should be gluten-free, vegan and vegetarian food.
It's all sorted.
I want you to jump away from this, like,
Okay.
inspire, go back to your managers and go, we have to do this, we have to do this properly.
You said what's?
There's one without any veggies, or that's dry, that's what I said.
There's a bunch. There's a veggie there. There's veggie, that's a veggie. That's
Okay.
a regular veg.
Yep.
There's no gluten free or
Yep,
cheese.
that's
it's just
fine.
Veggie.
Yep.
So there's that one.
One of
I think
those.
that yeah, there's a full veg one there. Yeah, you have something. Got it.
There were bottles of water around here somewhere, weren't there?
Sorry, yeah.
Oh, well. Yeah. How's it going? Pretty good. Pretty good. Alive.
Yeah, when I sent you the message, I'm like, it should be fine. It should be fine.
Yeah, for future reference, this go
I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't want to then rock up and then find out that I needed to register.
Anything that I'm running, you're always welcome.
Thank you. So we registered for the event and like it said that it was like no longer, yeah, like, oh well. And then anything I know about it, then like people, like, always come about the issue.
Yeah.
I guarantee.
I mean, we got good numbers, but we didn't get the 100 that registered. Yeah, because the registration was 100. I want to say about 40, which is why I didn't cater for 100 people worth of pizza.
Some people were like, you this is live as well, right? So it might have just been like a registered so that we could get the thing in that calendar.
Possibly. Although we didn't know it was going to be live until yesterday.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Because I'm like, have I got the brain space to work out the live stream? Finished work yesterday and went, yes.
Yes, yes, okay. But it was also like this morning, and the two of them, like, they were in the office, they were both very much like, yeah, we know we need a coffee. And I'm like, okay, we're both very, yeah, still not terrible. I don't think
That would be their second one. Have they done that?
Have they checked what the right? Yeah.
I'm just like, there's not even no one that can use it.
Piper.
But most of
Yes.
them provide that same.
So how you doing?
Moving that stuff.
Good. Got my 10-year anniversary last month, so I now have long service leave to use.
My decision date.
I never got there, so that's exciting.
I told him the other day, and he was like, yeah, no, I made the mistake of leaving and then coming back and having to start the whole thing again.
Yep.
I'm like, oh yeah, no. It's been my goal. Yeah. And now it proves weird.
So what's next?
Anything really. Yeah, learning how to test. Yeah, once you know how it works.
Not today, but let's,
Yeah. Tell her about all the way dogs do it.
yeah. Yeah, hence the let's chat.
Yeah, I'm not, no, yeah, it could be, yeah, the whole variant, yeah. Anyone who's got a bit of disability, they usually say, but voiceover, they also feel a little bit there now, yes, oh god, now it's like, it's real. Yeah.
But now you've got options.
Yeah. Because I had a old dev mate like reach out to me about like a year or two ago, be like, hey, how do you think graduate engineer? And I'm like, if you can give me like a couple more years guide, I'm so tired. What kind of worked, I can't remember where it was. But thankfully I didn't look at that at the time because that particular team I got folding. So I was like, well, that's yeah. Yeah, you can navigate by web like fronted. Yeah, front end film and I think it's tedious or something. But like even personally, I don't like gambling. Yeah, I work at a bank and I'm here like yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They've approached us a couple times.
Wait. Oh, they need to know. Nice. Good. That's great. I'm gonna tell everyone about that.
There's certain things that are kind of lines and yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was never a formal
Yeah.
approach,
Yeah.
but I kind of went, look, it'd need to go to the three-way partnership. I'm pretty sure we'd land on the no, but if you actually want to ask, I can ask, and then they didn't ask.
Like to get the companies, they must have been problems a lot. Like that's why you get the reply. It's good you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's up. Yeah. I know everyone.
Are you guys almost kind of matching?
Huh? That's about the top, yeah, sort of.
I don't normally notice these things, but it was like close enough that even I noticed.
Not really, but okay.
Well, I mean, the top. No? To be fair, I did say almost kind of.
Technicalities. Yeah.
So how cool is tabindex, hey?
Love a good tabindex. That makes a point to know. I didn't know you had to put it back on. Yeah. Always love a good tabindex.
Yeah.
I've got my dev train. Great. Skip link, because I wasn't sure if you had to use it or not, but now I know you have to. Oh yeah. I'm guessing I'm looking for oh, remove the, like, I remember having conversations with them years ago about how they're like, oh, we don't want to keep the tabindex there unless we need it. So like they were talking about like adding the tabindex to the element, moving the focus, and then moving again. I was like, yeah, it's like a lot of effort.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Like, yeah, like what?
Well, particularly if you're using -1, like
Yeah.
it has no impact.
Yeah. As well, they didn't want to float the HTML, and then like, you know, many years later now with it's like after all those things where you look at the HTML, it's like, wow, that's just bloated with a whole lot of dips and spam.
I love how when it comes to accessibility, we don't want to bloat the HTML.
Oh my God, I know.
We don't want to do everything else.
It's fine everywhere else.
That's my angle.
Yeah, you can add 15 different frameworks and
Yeah.
all the different classes you want and but when it comes to a tabindex,
Unacceptable. Unacceptable. You know what else is being saying a lot like at now? Like anglings without a nation. Everywhere. Yep. And if it's working, I'm figuring out how to fix it. It's like, because it's just React, right? They don't need that HTML.
it's because some full stack developer somewhere goes, oh, yeah. It's
Yeah. Yeah, no. Even in like in actually developer like guidelines like on the Brazilian dev thing and what have you. It says there like people cannot be like sometimes. Some of the things I like, even like today, I was doing some testing and I'm like, why isn't this working? I don't understand. I look at the code like, oh, it's a checkbox. But the label doesn't have the
Sure, why not?
Veggie.
Yeah, why not?
They just added in there. It's like when you remove something, I don't know if you saw the old radio button email. Did you look at the compliment at all? I kind of took out feedback because I'm like, oh, I'm like,
There's always
I don't know. I need time to look at it. I don't know.
I kind of like screamed.
Yeah,
For that whole thing, like many emails ago.
Yeah. I was like doing engagement guys because we need to like think about it. And the other thing which is weird is the using Python to text is actually harder. Yeah. So I'm like, well, I'm like, is that gonna be a question? Like, I just thank you. It doesn't go away. Yeah, well, I'm ready. That's something a lot recently where people were like,
Because the name just speak easy English.
like,
What's the presenter's name? Did that just speak easy English?
Cathy.
yeah, my God. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, they should do it again.
I think so.
Yeah. And they were still using not today. Yeah, it's not today. How are you going? No, tomorrow I'm working tomorrow. I'm working tomorrow at NAB.
The hub one.
Is that because it's gluten-free or because it's normal?
I have no idea. No, it's dry. Papa.
Looks like it helps eyes there. But no lie. I don't have like when I try when I like into the page, it was like
yeah.
oh what is it still doing it?
Oh yeah, true.
I know it's when it's not hard. It is it's not
I think so.
What's she doing? The last.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So I just provide them the relation ID, whatever.
We have that.
Screenshots and stuff, yeah. And it was already here, but I didn't know, there is no response, so can you block? Maybe I can help
Allison's next.
next week, yeah.
Okay. Saving me to the last?
Yeah, because you're always hilarious. So you, yes, always.
I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you don't think that person is a bit boring? Just saying what we do.
No,
It's so.
Yeah,
Okay.
you presenting is never boring, Michelle.
Okay. Okay.
And you know I'm honest, so you know I'm not lying.
Okay. Okay.
You guys get all get the environment.
Save the best. Yeah.
I'm not allowed to say that publicly, but yes.
I spent time on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell by looking at your slides.
I feel like I have a whole free day of no meeting for the environment.
I was debating. I was looking at some of the
I
forms.
got finished it today.
Yeah. That's small.
It actually looks very much you.
Yeah.
Like I can get your personality from the way you've done your slides.
Yeah.
But that's partly because I know you.
What is my personality? I don't even know.
What do you mean? You're like bubbly and fun and
I don't want boring personality.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
I try my
I
best.
had so let's change the email template. Oh, you're doing that one? I think they'll multiple of us are doing it. Yeah. And yeah, they just come back and be like, oh, I'm
right. Thanks. Can I no.
Great.
No, we're gonna kick off.
Yeah. And sorry.
You're right.
And
Oh, no.
All right. I think we're about ready to kick back off again. All right. I hope everybody enjoyed the food and drinks. We're probably about ready to kick things off again, and I'm just waiting for the next presenter, who is all right. I think we're about ready. So yes. So next up, we've got Alison Ravenhall, and Alison's giving us a demo of the voiceover experience of an interactive graph in a mobile app. Here you go, Alison.
Thanks, Adam. Not a catchy title. Sorry. Very literal. It is literally the voiceover experience of an interactive graph in a mobile app, but I wanted something a bit punchier. So if anyone thinks of an alternative title by the end, let me know. We'll retrofit it to the video or something. So anyway, I work, I won't mention that. I work in accessibility. I work on websites and apps, and it's all good fun. And I wanted to show you an app feature that I saw recently and was not involved in the slightest. So this is a banking app. It is yellow. This feature is called Money Plan. It is at the bottom of your accounts list if you happen to bank with a yellow bank. It's also accessible via the View All features from your homepage. Money Plan contains a whole bunch of tools for managing your spending and managing your savings. So you can set budgets and you can see your cash flow and all sorts of fun stuff. I highly recommend you go and have a squizzy. But the thing I want to talk to you about today in this yellow banking app is this savings graph. So this is a new feature that we added, they added. Oh. And it shows you visually a line chart of your savings balance over the last 3 months. I believe it will soon be able to adjust the period which it shows, but currently it's defaulted to 3 months. And this graph is interactive. So if you tap on it, and if the thing moves, there we go. If you tap on it and you drag your finger across, the visual experience is that the daily balance will update above the chart. You can see the balance changing as my finger slides across the chart. And you're like, that's cool. But what about screen reader users? There's a lot of data packed into that chart, right? There is a lot of numbers. So we need to think about the screen reader experience. We need to think about the voiceover experience, because this is iPhone, this is iOS, this is Apple. So Apple a few years ago, 2021, added a new library, a new protocol called AEST for the developers in the room. And basically you feed it a data set and it spits out some wicked features. So they tied up AEST into this chart, and the audio experience I think is really quite cool. So the first feature is that it blocks up and summarizes the chart in 2-week increments. So here's a bit of a demo. Pray to the demo gods and the audio gods that you hear it. There will be captions on the screen as the voiceover speaks. Here we go.
Voiceover on, CB test, back button. Total savings, $9,971.50, the 7th of May, heading. The 5th of February, 2024, at 12 a.m. to the 19th of February, 2024, at 12 a.m. 5,572 to 9,170, increases inconsistently, 12 values.
All right, so that's not a bad summary. We got a chunk of data. We got 2 weeks of data. We know that we started about $5,500. We end up a bit over $9,000. Start date, end date. Increases inconsistently, so we get a sense of the trend. Nice. All right, so we could just keep swiping across and seeing all the 2-week chunks, but I think you get the picture. We can move on. So AEST gives us 3 interaction options for our chart. So here we go.
Describe graph. Play audio graph. Chart details.
All right. So we got 3 options here to interact with our graph as a voiceover user. That was, sorry, I just picked up voiceover's pronunciation of graph. Beg pardon, graph. That's more like it. So when you say describe graph, it's a basic statement. The x-axis is date, the y value is value. I hope I haven't flipped those. And there's one data series. So it's just one little statement. Boom, boom. Play audio graph. This is where the fun starts. You thought we were having fun already. This is it. All right. So AEST takes the data set that you gave it and translates all of the values into tones. Noise. This chart is being represented by noise. So I'm going to play the audio graph for you. It can get a little bit piercing. So if you do have sensitive hearing, you might want to just get ready to clamp. It'll play for about 20 seconds and then you'll see the word complete on the screen. All right. So here we go. Let's check out an audio graph. See if you can follow the values. High value, high tone. Low value, low tone.
Play audio graph. Complete.
That last bit's a bit boring. Did you hear it where it went boop, boop? And that's the two big dips in the savings where I did someone did a big withdrawal. So that's a cost of living is hitting the savings. So that's nice. Like that sort of like gives you a sense of the trend of the graph. You sort of like there's high bits, there's low bits. I think if you sort of used it regularly, it might mean a little bit more to you. Obviously, for most of us in the room, it's a bit of a gimmick, and you're just like, that's a bit of fun. But look, I think we haven't delivered the equivalent experience yet. And Irith, you talked about equity versus equality, right? So we haven't delivered the equivalent experience to our voiceover user yet. We haven't given them every single data point that we could see on the screen in the first instance. So AX chart, the building is stable. Okay. AX chart has that third feature, chart details, which generates a whole new screen specifically for voiceover. And we can see here absolutely everything. Click.
Chart details. Audio graph, heading. Done, button. Savings history, heading. Savings history. The 7th of February, 2024, $5,572.46. The 28th of February, 2024, $11,101.75. The 24th of March, 2024, $10,232.94.
Okay, so that was me just dragging my finger across the chart, and it was toning up, down, trend. And whenever I just paused, boop, automatically announced whatever date and value I was sitting on based on the data set it was given. Now, some of you might have noticed that this screen is not quite as yellow as the previous one. This screen is entirely generated by AX chart. It's entirely controlled by Apple. So your yellow bank or other consumer has no control over it. It's just automatically generated out of the box. This is what it looks like. Done deal. So yeah, that's the demo. Now, who can do it and who can't? So here's the catch. The yellow app is built partially in Swift UI, which is the newer iOS language. That chart is only able to be built and presented that way if you are running iOS 15 or higher. The current version of iOS is 17. So we do have current -2 support, but bear that in mind. So yes, if your app is legacy and you're still sitting on UI kit, I'm sorry, but you can't sexy up your charts. Android, I really don't know. I don't think Android at this stage has an equivalent chart experience. I believe the yellow app is building in some manual experiences and manually marking up their charts, but it's certainly not the full feature experience that we're getting in Swift UI with like that demo. So if you thought that was cool and you want to go and tell your developers all about it and you want to get them doing charts and they're cool, I haven't got links. I've just got search suggestions because no one likes a link. So WWDC, the Worldwide Developer Conference run by Apple back in 2021, they had a fabulous demonstration that was way better than mine. And it was called Bring Accessibility to Charts in Your App if you search for WWDC AX chart, that will be the first result, I guarantee it. And then if you really want to get your devs into the nitty-gritty of how to do it, audio graphs in the Apple developer documentation is where they want to go. And you can ask them to search for Apple audio graphs and it will take them straight there. Ta-da.
Thanks very much for that, Alison. Before we move on to the next presentation, I just want to ask a quick question. Show of hands, is it graph or graph? So let's go with graph first. Show of hands. Okay, graph. All right.
One more comparison. Graph or chart?
Graph or chart? Graph. Chart. Okay. Not sure the second comparison worked out that way. But next, we do, and we all love the yellow bank. All right, so our last but not least presentation for the night is Michelle Chu. And Michelle, you're going to be telling us all about inclusive design and research at the ABC.
I think I put that in that one. No, I mean, yes. Hang on. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Chu. Is it working? Yes. Okay, cool. It sounds really weird up here because like it sounds like it's nothing. There's no echo. I was looking for echo. There's no echo. My name is Michelle Chu. Before I start, can I get a hand with a signal of some sort? How many of you are researcher or works in research? Some of my peer pal. Hello. Designers? All right, a bunch of them. Yes. All right, this will be useful. I mean, not saying that the other talks wasn't useful, but this is something that you can. Well, it's not less dev heavy, very much design, development, research, that side of the product development. And yeah, we're just gonna talk a bit more about not Yellow Bank, but we talk about the public broadcaster, the black color media company that have been around for many years. And yeah, bit about myself. If you see my face on the left or the right, is my face. You can also see it here. In the middle is my cat Soba chilling out in my garage with a harness on. It's a blue, no, not blue, brown tabby, 2.5 years old, medium hair. And then there's a pottery studio on the right where I am when I'm sick of work and I just need to get out. That's where I do my stuff. Yeah. So I also should talk a bit more about what I do in ABC. Forgot about myself. My journey of accessibility starts about 7 years ago. Thank you, Adam. Started a lot with testing and then slowly moved to design. And then now I'm in the research area, trying to make the world a bit more accessible, one step at a time. Yeah. But let's talk a bit more about ABC because I'm not that exciting. ABC is a bit more exciting than me. Inclusivity and accessibility is at the heart of everything we do. It is in our vision statement where ABC is for all Australians. We will prioritize investment in digital product that achieve the highest standard of user experience. We'll meet all Australian desire for ease of use and accessibility. So about 2 years ago, accessibility is actually pretty good. Like everyone cares about it. We are focusing a lot of our energy in the design phase where we make sure that, because we believe that a good accessible or good design usually means a good accessibility, right? Sorry, just moving a little bit of note. We've make sure all the requirements is embedded as part of the Figma design. People are doing it, they're following the requirements sometimes. We test it, it's great. PM are really good at making sure that, well, some PM is really good at making, oh no.
making sure that the defect is prioritized and fixed, and making sure there's no blockers defect going up. But it goes up to a stage that I realized that in order to make sure that what we're building is truly accessible and for everyone, we really need to talk to the people. We can't make decisions on behalf of them. We are not our users. I don't know how many times we have told people that stop making decisions out of your random pocket and talk to people. And the answer to that is research. But why research? When we are designing for other people as, sorry, I forgot the name. The previous, yes, you, one of the presenters said, Damon, yes, you can't, you just can't just, it works for you, but it doesn't work for someone else, right? It's unavoidable that you're going to have your own biases and preferences that leads the way, either whether it's intentional or unintentional. So if you create a solution that you yourself can see, touch, understand, hear, it tends to work well for you and the people, your peers around you, your designers. So it ends up excluding so much more people, and that's especially true when it comes to disability. Even though when you have good intention about building the product in the world, you're also making a lot of decisions based on your secondhand knowledge and how people interact with the internet. You have your own assumption that could be wrong. And sometimes I made a decision that is wrong as well. And you need data to support that decision. So we are doing actually a lot of research at ABC. So why don't we do research with people with disabilities or with SS need? So in the next couple of slides, I'm going to show you a lot of stuff that we've been doing since 2022 and 2023. That is actually in the top right-hand corner. Actually, I just realized I haven't talked about this circle on the right-hand side. So there's a concentric circle on the slide right now on the right-hand side, where in the middle is say the design works for me. So usually people sit here are the designers, the decision maker, your product owners, people that think that the design would work, that the product will work, and everyone loves it. But often what they are not talking to is people in the second circle and the third circle, which second one said it kind of works, but with difficulties. And the third one is the design doesn't work for me. So these are the people that you are excluding the edge users, that people you're not talking to. You're only talking to your peers when you do a design review. I know how you guys work. So since 2022, we've been doing a lot of research focusing on different accessibility needs. So we started with audio description to ABC iView, where we engaged with a company called Center for Inclusive Design to run multiple rounds of research. We try and understand what's the AD best practice, audio description, user expectation, and some of the existing iView usability, because we know we weren't perfect, but we're pretty good. But to ensure audio description is accessible launch, we need to make sure what we have is actually accessible as well. We also did another 2 project. I won't go into detail, but it's called Virtual Voice and Podcast Transcript. We're just trying to understand what are the market interests and how it might benefit different people with different accessibility needs. And these 3 projects really set that foundation of us doing inclusive design research and allow us to really give us idea what are the gold standard, what are we aiming for, how we can do better. So later on that year, once we have launched or about to launch audio description, we actually did another test. Actually, before that, we did we did multiple research. We did one is unmoderated, but kind of in user testing. But the one that I was going to talk today, I won't talk too much about it. But is the mobile usability testing, where we had, it was the first time that, well, it's not the first time, we did multiple research before that. It wasn't very consistent. It would just do it kind of out of nowhere, like 3 times in 5 years, I think. But this was the first time that the research team and accessibility collaborate and work together to do a lot of work, from participant recruitment, scoping, running interviews, synthesizing results. That was also our first research that is in-person research since COVID. So we did 3 in-person and 3 remote. That was just great. And And then after that, we did another research or testing. So after the launch, we got some feedback from audiences saying that, hey, the audio description actually sound wasn't that great. We can't hear as clearly. Work with the team, find a solution, fix the mixing. The good thing about this one is that we were about to, we just fix it, launch it, push it. But then it was a sound engineer was like, no, we need to test it. We need to test with real people. We need to make sure what we got is right. We can't just, solution, shuffle it, send it out there. So it's not engineer, but it was person that cares about, it's not a developer, different. It's not a developer, it's an engineer, sound engineer. So that was great. It wasn't me. And actually the one before that, it wasn't fully me. It was the product manager was like, let's do it. We have to do it. It could be. So from there, we can't just tell them to do things as well. We need training and resources. So while I was, because I don't have any knowledge in research before, so I've been spending like my past year or 2 years learning research in UX and UI. And with so many research that we've done, I've created an inclusive design research toolkit within ABC that the staff can use and refer to. So I have all the information from the why, so like what you need to do to sell your stakeholders. There is stuff like how to recruit, where to recruit, a lot of how to communicate with audience members, participants, a lot of nitty-gritty things that you need to be aware. Basically what I did was a mixture of personal experience of running research, but also like resources from the internet. And after that, we had 2 research trainings with the designers just to give them some practical ideas about how to go about doing it, and some of the learnings that we had. So, and then finally, we did one more research. That one actually that push from a designer. They were like, well, we can't just sit of ideas like, hey, maybe we're doing launching a new search in ABC website. Search is pretty important because imagine if you are in emergency and you're trying to find information about something and you can't find it, that's pretty bad. And the thing is, we haven't done much research on desktop. So work with the designers and we run some research. Yeah. So being very cryptic about what I actually learned, because that's going to be what I'm going to talk about very briefly. I have an image on the right. The first cartoon, the first cartoon was the mouse saying everything will be okay, and then the other mouse was in shock, like, what about edge users? And then the third image was that the first mouse was like, oh no, I forgot about those. So imagine if we didn't do any edge user research. The launch of audio description, I would say, is a flop because when we did our first round of research for the beta usability, when we did our first 3 participants, all of them struggled to find audio description content. Even though we follow everything, the research recommendation that we've done previously, the 3 rounds that we did previously, we follow it, most of the things. We were still struggling was because how we have set it up, and I won't go into details. We fixed some little things, and it was like, then when we ran the second round of the other 3 research, the blocker wasn't there anymore, which is great. Continue research, continue testing. The other thing is with Cookie Banner. With the Cookie Banner, also so we tested search recently, and then we had Cookie Banner. We've done a lot of reviews and be like, okay, how we should build a Cookie Banner? We should put it on bottom. Well, design want to put it on bottom. We're like, okay, we're trying to make sure that the DOM structure will have Cookie Banner first, so they can always get to Cookie Banner, and do stuff with it. But then what we didn't think at that time is what about people who use screen reader, uses screen magnifier, and also keyboard users? They were starting to looking from the top. Our Cookie Banner was on the bottom. So when they start to use a tab key to tap, they're like, where is my focus? They thought the focus was gone. This is still an issue in ABC. So if you go there right now, you can find that. We will be fixing it. We are fixing it. There were just some things happens. Yeah, that was bad. And that Cookie Banner has been there for 2 years. And what worse was that that participant clear his cookie every single time. What that means is that he's going to see that every single time. We're expecting that users going to close the cookie banners, right? They're going to close it. No, they're not. Yeah, and also the cookie banner was sticky. So what that means is that it's blocked whenever they use tab key to tap through the page, it was blocking the search result. So he's only getting 1 hour of like every 50% of it. And then the other problem was that it was, I'll just keep talking now. The other thing was like, it was in the audio page, there's a play button, and he was tapping through as well. Again, the only play button was blocked by that. I get angry. But that's why it's so important to test with real users, and we will make inclusive design research a standard practice and make sure that right edge users are constantly consulted, included, not just people with disability, but all marginalized or edge users as well. That's like our first step, because you know it's a marathon, not a sprint. And you can start your inclusive design product research today. First step is always the hardest. It is not that hard. We are publicly funded. We have no money. You guys can do it, right? It's not that expensive. Intopia do user research. Talk to them. So if you have no money, you can try to well, if you don't have stakeholder buy-in, you can at least try to include 1 or 2 edge users. That's not I recommend, but if you really like struggling, that's what you can do. And I really urge you to ask yourself question like, are you designing for edge? Are you designing for yourself? Because if only you can use it, your KPI is never going to go up. Because you know, if you want everybody can use it, maybe 80% can use it. But if you want a 20% increase in your KPI, talk to edge users. And think about who you're potentially excluding. You don't have to be perfect. You just need to start thinking about that. Every act of inclusion matters. Whatever you do would work. I don't have links. I have a QR code on the screen. Or you can search my name on LinkedIn and then put ABC next to it, then you can find me. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. I think the theme there with that one is talk to people and research, research, research. All right. That brings us to the end of today's A11y Bytes. Thank you to everyone who's attended here in person with us and everyone who's attended online. I want to give a special shout out and thanks to Bupa for hosting us. And want to thank you both for your support of A11y Bytes, but also for the support that you provide the Melbourne Web Accessibility and Inclusive Design Meetup. Without you guys, these type of events wouldn't be possible. Thank you to AI Media for the captions today. They've been great. And yeah, I think that's it. Have a good night, everybody.
We did.
That was a great talk, Alvin. Far out. So good. I'm gonna bloody watch that WWE.
Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot to tell people that there is a live example of it, even if you don't bank at the Yellow Bank, in the stocks app, the Apple stocks app. So if you use the Apple stocks app, you can go and play with.
I'm Utopia. We're a digital accessibility competition. So testing, training, consulting, action plans, all matter of, yeah.
Thank you so much for helping. Yeah. Thanks for coming. Thanks for having us.